Alright, fellas. Let's see what's going on here. He already admitted it himself. He said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes while he could only be the victim. Man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. Poor one was attacked from behind. How dreadful. I really don't care. I got work to do. Your books, Bourbon books, not worth a visit. Okay. Can we pit something against them? Sum of 2 shillings. I don't know. What can I use here? Text from behind. That's true. Around the house on his way back to the bookshop. Sure. Okay, let me try something. I don't know. Wait. Press. Oh. Excuse me, but aren't you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yeah, I had a feeling I knew your face, or the side of it anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry. Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now, there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Thank goodness for that. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now. If you say that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's a lie as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little mind? I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but he wouldn't like it. I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was no one else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime. Oh. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, you're too kind, my lord. That went well. For her. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. Not in winter. But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. At the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. Oh, I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I have given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Road way, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. A reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one. Okay. Her poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. What is the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mr. Garadab, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room? The master's wife? Where'd you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid, you understand. She's keeping up that charade. Oh, this is gonna be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean. Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was a letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodgings in your master's house, doesn't he? Yes, that's right. Although it's only been in a little over a week now. And at that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? Oh my goodness me, yes! He is just a sort. What? Spending all his time in that darkened dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous moustache. The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbours are talking about him. I've heard him, you know. People think he must be bitten in a bombing now or something. Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He is just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I'd better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's said enough damning things already. I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life is on the line too, and so is my family's. Likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what he's doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is. So you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? See? In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence? That's right. Meerschaum Street it was. Meerschaum Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir. It's important. Fine, I'll do it then. On the day it happened, I was digging up Mersham Street from dusk till dawn. So, if I understand correctly, you're a day laborer and you were doing road maintenance that day? That's right, like I said, you get a lot of burst gas and water pipes underground in the middle of winter. It's the only time of year fellows like me can actually make a fuel bulb, and I'm missing out today. And when you say from dawn till dusk, well, the work has to be completed within a day, see? No coaches or pedestrians can pass it while it's happening. I wonder if I could trouble you, sir, to mark on the street map the exact location of the works you were carrying out? Give it here, then. Let me have a look. Right, let's see then. Here we are, Museum Street. Yeah, it was just here, like. It was a tidy dig, I can tell you. We had to get through all drifts of snow that had frozen solid. And at what sort of time did you finish the work? Well, we started in the morning and we kind of finished before gone 6, I'd say. The snow had stopped coming down, but it was long past dark for sure. That means the road work was still going on when Miss Green was attacked at around 5 o'clock. Road works on Mearsham Street, huh? Your books, yes, nice shop that, but bourbon books, ooh, no, not worth a visit.
Hold it!
Sorry, fold it, you say? Fold what? No, I said hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking up books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I'd left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked? Are you sure about the time? Oh, yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donked my head. It's always worse after the snow starts falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Wait a minute, let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road? That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now. It sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. But I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. I agree, it's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something. We must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunningly. Yeah, you're right. Let's listen to the jurors again carefully, and if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll pit them mercilessly against each other. Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other. That's what I just said. Okay, so there we go. You and you. Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel. Explain yourself. Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
Hey, what? I just want to get this done and dusted.
Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now were extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meerschaum Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meerschaum Street and down Briar Road.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings.
Yes, I suppose he must have.
I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, but we see now that he had no choice.
Yes!
My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may.
Yes?
I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir?
Eh? Who? Me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in. That's what I say.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Well, we managed to change a couple of minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Yes, my lord. I have to say not guilty at this point, so I can see where this trial goes from here. So if your one is attacked from beyond, was she? How dreadful! Okay. Whether digging up roads or digging up the truth, you've got to see it through to the end, haven't you? I slept over that evening myself on Calabash Road. I knocked myself clean out, you know. And that was around 5 o'clock, you say? The same time as the victim was attacked?
I don't know anything about the girl who was stabbed, but my dinner's on the table at the same time every day.
And for the record, could you please identify the precise location of your fall?
Well, goodness, it was eons ago now. I'm not sure I can remember.
It was 3 days ago. Try dredging your memory. Please.
Well, let me see. It was especially slippery around about... oh, yes, I remember now. It was just on the corner there.
What happened to you then? Were you alright?
Well, you don't get too many people down Calabash Road, you see. So there was no one around when I fell. No one around when I knocked myself out. No one around when I came to again. And no one around when I sneezed. So I picked myself up and went back to my nice warm house where my grandchildren were waiting for me.
A sad and lonely picture you paint, sir. You are fortunate to not to have frozen to death. Yes, how lucky that he wasn't more seriously injured. True, it sounds like it was very nearly another hospital admission, or worse. Ah yes, one more thing. Were you wearing that same green overcoat on the day in question?
Absolutely. It's the only coat I have. It took until this morning to dry out properly. Good job, too, or I'd have nothing to wear here. So count your blessings, I say. Ho ho ho.
I suppose we should. This gentleman certainly had a close shave there. Alright. You've changed 2 of the jurors' mind, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, just 2 more to go. Deliver the finishing blow now. It is time to turn the tables here. Wish I knew how to do a Susato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now. Okay. There we go. He said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, while it could only have been the victim. There was another green wearing person who collapsed. We know that now. Those 2 statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning.
A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel?
Well, juror number 2? Juror number 6? Whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that, on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes? Yes, we are all aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection.
Can we really be sure of that, madam? My, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him on that day. That same afternoon, there was someone else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my! My goodness, you mean... That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6. Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today? That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim.
Well, look at that.
My goodness me!
Sorry, you need a pee?
And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh my!
You idiot, old man. You hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there. We had debunked this off hours ago. Really, what were you thinking, wearing such a befuddling coat? What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days? Is there a crime to slip over on the ice? Is there a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat? Is it?
My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but...
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
I would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well...
Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4. So the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hollow chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Eh? Whatever do you mean? I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed, Stalwart Juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir. That's right. Took me the whole day and they paid me a measly twopence for it. Now, my learned Japanese friend, tell me, do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Eh? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? Did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? Eh? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway, and we just turned any gentlefolk back when they came. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings round town. Ah, is that true? Is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Oh, crushed in a single sentence. And, old man... Cold man? You can talk. You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slept and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Japanese behind you at the time? Oh, I can't say I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Order. Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. My lord, if you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why the world did you not
proffer it during the summation examination. I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over.
What are you talking about?
My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forward the witnesses.
It's next witnesses.
Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember?
We have been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yeah, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less.
I'm afraid that it's likely to be the prosecution's next witness.
Alright. No matter who Van Zeeks brings to the stand as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Suseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over.
Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
No, what the fuck is that voice? I don't know.
Constable.
No, he doesn't. Constable. Hey guys. Constable. Stupid. Constable. Yes. Constable Rolly Bates, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. And I'm Mrs. B. Patricia, my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town's hero's wife. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired.
Hardly surprising. Thus, being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world.
Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually.
Indeed, apart from the rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true, and they're responsible for keeping the streets clean, and lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all.
I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago.
But it goes without saying that the policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, the constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor.
And a man of slumber.
On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Roddy?
Constable Rolly Speed, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir.
What a great witness he's gonna be.
Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir.
Great. What a colorful bunch of characters. It was our wedding anniversary and Raleigh was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dark. Rowley and I both saw him as clear as day.
Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Oh dear. This policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed. It's death, nil in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate bechancing. And on your wedding anniversary too.
Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that.
Gosh, the life of a London bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon.
What do you mean by that?
My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure.
Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking.
Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Here we go. It was our wedding anniversary and Raleigh was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat? Oh no, sadly not. It is a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Raleigh looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling?
What? I just finished my beat. In fact, I went down back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there.
Is he talking in his sleep? That is creepy. Oh no, Raleigh, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes.
Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy. Kindly adhere to the point. You're going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But please is my life, sir. As long as I find all of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end.
What's that now?
My warring court, sir. Proof that I'm a well-known copper. Yeah, as the local family proof of first written on the Advised Sheriff's Office of Forces. To solve the things of my own time, I uphold the peace of common man. Sir, of the sense of course, I call sweating by a certain day that fail and that copy. Because I know what a million members from the street here with your favorite call.
So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then?
But sir, just on that particular day, I was really fortunate to celebrate my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Big Pop, with a lot being married to a puppy like me, I wanted to find my dear wife and much I care. Oh, pray. Oh, Raleigh.
Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. Two silhouettes. That's right, they were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume. Yeah, unfortunately it does.
And you're certain that at the time there was nobody else nearby?
Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling?
What? Oh, yes, that's right. Of course, there was a lot of fog on the ground. But Briar Road was set through a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's a street light as well. I didn't see any other...
Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you've just said?
Yes, sir. As a couple spends all day, every day, keeping off of the streets, I swear to it, sir. I'm as sure as my love for Patricia is sure.
Oh, pet. Oh, Raleigh. They're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened. It is beginning to seem there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed? What happened in the crucial moments that followed? All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. Scattered something. What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time, but then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling?
Yes, that's right. It's some old books.
I see. Old books.
Yes, sir. The culprit and Dr. W. all ran with the victim's appointment.
Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print. That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him. He was the man in the rock without any questions, sir. The moustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, a talk mouth, a snub nose, everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right. He looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please continue.
Yes, sir.
We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one, after all. Isn't that right, my darling?
What? Oh yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. B to go. I was off duty at that point, but Bobby said I saw it off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to fight and go to sleep. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box.
Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box?
Depends on a crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat, so I told Patricia the way to the police box for a beat that the incident fell under, so she could go and report it.
I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from both the Bobby. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know. And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens. Oh, please, you're making us blush, isn't he, darling?
Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir.
Let's move on, shall we? It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rowley and I both saw him as clear as day. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough. My husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes, and what of the fog?
We're famous for it across the globe, I believe, but it is an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That is why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
What? Yes, the accused are no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth, the snub, the unmistakable, sir.
As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It is Saseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony?
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, I had to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day.
Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony.
Oh no, then what do we do?
If Kazuma-sama were here...
What are you trying to say?
I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony.
What do you mean, somewhere else?
Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate.
Oh, right.
Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I am afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion.
Oh, why do I always seem to be so up against it? Okay, Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something?
Oh, yes, of course, what is it?
Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. What? No, no, no. No, it's not really all that. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one. I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is?
That will do, Mrs. Beat.
No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down.
Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat? Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? I could even tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped at the scene. Alright, well, first of all, let's see where this goes. Yes, we know that there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say.
Thus purchased by the accusers at the nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question.
After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I am a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rolly. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling? Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime.
Well, Mrs. Beat, seeing as you've regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene?
I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was The Picture of Monsieur Somebody or Other, and What's It Yearnings. Then there was A Meal for Someone, and the last one was definitely the Thingamies something. You see? Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory. Oh well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure.
There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it.
Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling?
Anyone who sets my pictures will have to answer me. Terrifying.
Yes, she really is. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I didn't know. I can say it's coming here. So focus on something else to find discrepancy in. Alright. Now, do I present the photo or the receipt? I think the receipt is more precise. Hopefully. So, you're saying that there were 4 books? That's right, I remember all of them. The Picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and The Thingamies something. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat, but there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no, what flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books. Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it. I saw them. No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. Grrr. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no!
Objection! It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that can't be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend.
What?
What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So you have striven to avoid attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair?
Oh, he's right. He sees right through me.
But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you.
What are you talking about?
It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect.
Did he steal a book? Oh.
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Oh, the book of the victim. But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books.
Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print.
That print? You mean to say...
Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand.
I don't believe it. It's the 4th book.
As you will observe. The 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso.
No. No!
Order! Order!
There, you see? Look at that, look! Yes, I'm looking. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir. But this is always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lecoq.
What city earnings?
Canterbury earnings.
A meal for someone?
A meal for Gabriel, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment.
Yes, sir, flawless, sir. Particularly for it.
But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4.
There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I am sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim.
The victim was holding her own book? I wonder what became of that fourth book.
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord.
The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride.
The prosecution rests.
Isn't that the book that Garadeb had, or it was burned or something? I mean, I guess, you know, a book isn't something that is only printed once, so it may be a coincidence, but... wait a minute, this isn't a coincidence, look at this.
Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt.
You're right, you'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages.
What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently.
A book recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? I can't believe it. Okay. I can't believe this is happening. I still don't know what this means. Maybe Garadeb killed her. Maybe the wife killed her. Maybe she slipped on the ice and fell on the knife.
Let me see. It is a book entitled The Lion's Pride.
I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before, and very recently too.
It is a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yep, it's all coming together now, isn't it? Oh dear. Just don't know where we're going with this.
The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend, but your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer road to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat. So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Renisuke, think. What do you do now?
Objection!
I'm not done yet.
No, my learned friend, it is over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate.
Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say.
If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. But your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed, for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh.
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo. One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madam.
Go ahead, Mr. Sato. Please.
Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in these matters that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think?
It is just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible.
Yes, I understand, and thank you, Mr. Sato. This is it. So Sato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord.
Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case, and has hitherto been overlooked.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know.
Oh.
Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, my lord. It's,
Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track.
Yes, I think you might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals?
Right about here. I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp!
So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing. That's right, that's right.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Japanese friend?
Oh,
Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there's nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert that this fire damages some veiled clue as to what happens that day. Pray do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide?
A charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but it's worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory.
Don't keep us waiting any longer then, Counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this sorry tome has suffered it?
My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner.
I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor, after all. It's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious! How can you possibly... Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb.
The landlords!
And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadeb herself.
Oh my goodness! Me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadeb's wife. I'm his maid.
Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house?
I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is Ezekiel's landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house.
Good lord, what sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord.
Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite, book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride? By Jove, the very smart title that's the subject of this debate. Oh, dear me!
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that the book was the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. Entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime.
Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garadeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garadeb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so hurried to the one you love. Can you, Roddy?
Absolutely not, sir. My position with the waved your finger against me, sir.
Right. I told my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got holding, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen.
The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No, a thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there's now reported the Gardab's window pane being broken.
That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Gardeb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time and...
Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season, the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter.
Oh.
Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Gardeb's wife?
I believe it's a possibility, my lord. Oh.
That's quite enough.
Yep.
Well, I own that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward.
Really?
Claiming that our little teeth set our old neighbour alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a mate for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case. Not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
No, I assure you, that was never my intention.
Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Too right. Here we go. How long have you sat here now, listening to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But, think about it, at the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the moustache, and he ran away from the scene too. I do declare you're right. It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you?
Makes sense to me. Sorry, what's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zieks? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage.
No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been...
If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time.
What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time?
Ahem. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty! Guilty!
Yep.
Guilty!
Thank you. Thanks. What a joke.
Thank you for that unambiguous response.
That's twice now. It's all over.
Mr. Naruhodo, do not give up.
Mr. Sato?
Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet.
You're not suggesting...
Of course. The defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance.
My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination.
You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve?
I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there is a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. To be continued.